Yes, good evening. So since this is our reorganizational meeting, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Turn it over to our district clerk, Mrs. Megan Rabideau, and ask her to conduct the roll call.
Mrs. Boyce? Here. Mrs. Hunter? Here. Mrs. Giro? Patty Giro?
Here.
Mr. Harriman?
Here.
Mrs. Larock? Here. Mr. Malott? Mr. Marin?
Here.
Mr. McCabe?
Here.
Mr. Murdoch?
Here.
Mrs. Phillips or Miss Phillips? Here. Mrs. Saunders?
Here.
Mrs. Sears?
Here.
Mr. Payton here?
Here.
Ms. Lawton? Yeah, so we have 12 board members present. We'll start with the oath of office, or just mentioning that Kathy Hunter, Emily Phillips, Lori Saunders, and Richard St. Pierre have all started their new 3-year terms, and they will do an oath of office. But we can go ahead and open the floor to nominations for the board president.
Nominate. I'll second that.
And so we'll do that a second time. Any other nominations? Any other nominations?
I nominate Mitch.
Okay, yep. All right.
We did that at home.
We don't have to do it again?
You don't have to say that. I think,
And it's the other board meeting, we had to do it 3 times.
yeah, but
No?
they just didn't do it quite right.
Oh, okay.
We let it go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And we would like to. So I have where we close the nomination, so I think we have to motion for that too.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the election of the board vice president, open the floor.
Nominate.
Second.
Actually, nominations don't need a second, but that's cool.
Okay. And then another, or I'm sorry, for a second time, any other nominations? Third time? Motion carried. Okay, and then to close.
Motion.
Okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then last is our deputy vice president.
No, I did not. I'll second that.
And then is there any other nominations?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed, I think we need to put that over back. Motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
I'd like to congratulate all of you guys.
You can get some new hats. So we can go ahead and say our oath of office together for all those that need to. I, Megan Rabideau, do solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of New York.
And I will faithfully
allegiance to and a member of the Board of Boston. That's the best of my ability.
Okay, we are not for supervised.
Okay. So now that we sign our paper,
Sign them.
we can sign away now?
And I'll hand it over to our board president.
Okay. Good notary out.
Yeah.
There you go.
So am I back in charge now? or-
You are back to me, goodness, yeah.
You're in, either way. Tag, you're in.
So President St. Pierre, before as we start, I would like to congratulate and thank all of our board members. And as indicated on our board agenda, Ms. Kathy Cummins Hunter, Ms. Emily Phillips, Ms. Lori Saunders, and Mr. Michael St. Pierre, and say congratulations. So-
Thank you.
And a welcome for Ms. Emily Phillips, who joins us as the new board member from Willsboro. So congratulations, Ms. Phillips. We're looking forward to working with you and having you be in part of our board. So thank you.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, well, and I would just like to know for those board members who are on virtually attending, if you're able to leave your cameras on, and while we're in public session, otherwise your votes don't count. So we do have one, Ms. Hunter, if you're able to put your camera on when voting and being seen, it does allow you to have your vote count. Otherwise, you're present but not able to vote.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Mr.
All right,
Carrier.
so I think our next thing is the executive session, I believe. A motion to go into executive.
Second. Lisa said second.
Lisa, second. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
And-
You're now in executive.
Okay, and President St. Pierre, I would just like to acknowledge the purpose of the executive session. It's for a variety of confidential matters regarding collective negotiations of employees and the employment matter, medical, financial credit, or employment history of numerous individuals, including persons or corporation, appointment, promotion, discipline, suspension, and dismissal, removal. So thank you. Okay. So we are also going to move. You want to pause that until we start, Mr. Bell? I want to do a little.
Okay, we're gonna continue on with our meeting. We're gonna go through the introduction of our president. We're gonna go around the table also. Okay. Any board members? All right, so again, Matt, you wanna go first?
Matt Slattery, CVES.
Amy Campbell, CVES. Michelle Friedman, CVES.
Eric Bell, CVES.
Lisa Boyce, board member.
Donna Rock, board member.
Warren Cedars, board member. Lori Saunders, board member.
Got Marilyn Hale from Beavertown.
You're one best seal. Dick St. Pierre from Crown Point, board member. Richard Hanneman, board member, and no, reps.
Bruce Murdoch, currently board member.
Emily,
New board member.
new board member, Phillips and I'm Willsboro.
Do you know their positions? Maybe you want to know.
A few, but not everyone.
Matt Slattery, the Director of Special Education.
Amy Campbell is the superintendent for educational services. Michelle Friedman, the very proud director of career and technical education.
Assistant Superintendent of Management Services.
All right.
You want to see the folks up there? Hopefully they saw us.
Okay, and then, so we do have, I'll just call upon, I'm looking at my list. So we have, first up is Mr. Malat. Could you introduce yourself and then Mr. McKay? Hang on, let's see if I can unmute you. So Mr. Malat.
There we go.
There.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm alive, huh? Okay. I just got on as a board member.
Okay, and from the Peru District, so thank you, Mr. Malat.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome. Mr. McKay.
Yeah, McKay from Keene.
Thank you. Ms. Giro?
Yeah. Hi, this is Patty Jarrow from Oswego Valley Central School.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hunter?
Kathy Hunter, Northeastern Clinton.
Great, thank you. Ms. Watton?
Donna Watton, Ticonderoga.
Okay, wonderful. And Mr. Boyer, you're also on?
Chris Boyer, Boyer Benner Group, Plattsburgh, New York.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, move on to the strategic plan.
Yes.
Okay,
So with the board's permission, I may sit here so that I can look at the camera and also talk with if that's okay, rather than go to the front of the room. So we'll start off and say, when the board approved our strategic plan in October, as part of this plan, we have under our instructional services area, a targeted area or targeted goal to modernize our brand and image. We understand that our message as CVES and our role in the North Country is to be an ongoing leader, and we have been a leader for over 70 years. There was a rebranding initiative many years ago with Champlain Valley Educational Services, really getting its name out there and really being a leader. And we had adopted at that point, and some of you may have been on the board, a beautiful logo that includes mountains, lakes, and is gorgeous. But it represents more so where we live than who we are and what we do. And with that being said, I'm very pleased as district superintendent to share an exciting initiative that we undertook through the strategic plan with your support. And that is the idea of rebranding our logo to better represent us, not only as an organization, but also in all of our divisions. We understand that this is a time for a refresh, and we're very excited about it. Next slide, please, Mr. Bell. And I'm thrilled to share that we had the opportunity to work with a tremendous team from CVES and our consultants and our board member, Ms. Watton, to bring together a committee, an ad hoc committee for rebranding. We also had the privilege to work with the Boyer Benner Group and Chris Boyer and Aaron Benner and their team, were facilitators and organizers for us, and did a tremendous job. And I cannot say enough about our team members. And as you look at that list, it represents a wide variety from across CVS and leaders in their own right. Outstanding teachers, outstanding staff members, outstanding administrators, tremendous committed individuals who were excited to be part of this and understand that when we planned our instructional services plan for rebranding, we were going to be moving forward from just after Christmas through the end of the year. In COVID and the challenges that were presented, we really began this initiative in May. And so we rolled up our sleeves. And I cannot say enough for our attendees and our facilitators, because we participated together in a very exciting initiative that was done in a quite expedited process, but done very, very well and very thoroughly. But I cannot say enough for our members and our leaders who helped work with our facilitators to accomplish this. And it's very exciting. And I would like to say, and we will turn it over momentarily to Mr. Boyer. And I did lose Chris, you on, there we go. Okay, you are there. Perfect. So we're going to turn it over for a minute to introduce Mr. Boyer. And perhaps Mr. Benner may be on or not. He was going to try to join us. But with that said, I want to share with you how excited I am for this reveal, but also for the board's understanding that this was an exciting initiative, and your representative as a board member brings a great deal of tremendous experience in her own right and career. Ms. Donna Watton, who is the executive director of the Alliance, who her entire career was in this field as well, out on the West Coast, and that's exciting too, because we had our own representative who was working with us and also providing a great amount of support and advisement along the way too. So you are going to hear from Ms. Watton as well. So we'll move right forward and say it's my privilege to reveal. And so let's go to the next Slide, please. And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Benner. Mr. Boyer, rather. On the first slide is actually our slide for our recommended new logo for Champlain Valley Educational Services. And I'm very excited to share this because as we go through our logo recommendations, we have a family of logos that are aligned and coordinated, but also support, we believe, our organization into the future. And with this being said, many times as you look out in the public, you look at Amazon, you look at ESPN, you look at FedEx. There are very recognizable logos and even items within those logos. And when you look at Champlain Valley Educational Services, you see especially the CVES, and you see a V that can show in its own right potentially excitement of someone saying, yay, and really being excited about it. Or some of our staff said, it looks like two individuals shaking hands. So as you start to look at this and you say, okay, what else does our logo show? We have the Champlain Valley Educational Services. That's also a unifying factor for our entire family. And there was also a belief that we wanted to acknowledge that Champlain Valley Educational Services is Clinton, Essex, Warren, Washington, Bossies. So that was an important part of our message too. And we believe that as we unveil the entire family, it'll help you understand how this came to pass and the excitement that we unveil. So I would like to turn it over at this time to Mr. Boyer. And Chris, you and Aaron were tremendous facilitators. So if I could turn it over to you to kind of share some of your insights as well.
First, I'd like to say thank you. We had a tremendous time working on this project. Your team was really great to work with. They really understood the process. They understood what we were trying to do. We don't always get that in our client meetings. Sometimes they're fighting us on things that we believe strongly, but your team definitely understood those things and it made the process much quicker. Side note, Aaron is trying to get in. He's having some issues. He did call in, he said. I don't know if anyone on your end can let him in. Just side note on that. I don't know if you want me to get into detail at all on the logos, but basically, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity, and we really enjoyed ourselves, and we're pretty happy with where we arrived. And again, thanks for all your feedback from your team, helping us work with you to get to this point.
Okay, hang on one second. Thank you. So we do have.
See if Aaron, try to talk right now, Aaron, I unmuted you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm having how many of these have we done? And still sometimes, but we persevere. I just want to echo what Chris said. I was reminded of the call Dr. Davey made, we were looking at the timeline, and I'm like, oh man! But the excitement that he had, and I still remember like it was yesterday. He's like, Aaron, I'm telling you, when you get to meet the team that we've put together on this committee, I could hear his voice. He's like, you're gonna be to the moon. And the team that came together to help develop these logos, it was a process. I mean, literally laughed, cried, the whole nine. I think one of the most beautiful parts of it was just watching everyone in that room gel in a way that was just incredible to be part of that journey. The last piece that I'll say, I got off the phone with my mom just before this call, and just the power that the CVES family has. My mom graduated in 1973, and last night had dinner with Mrs. Ewing, who was her teacher at CV Tech back in the 70s. So that's just the power and the relationships, the lifelong relationships that this family has. And I just wanted to echo that and thank you all for the honor of being part of this journey.
Okay.
I might add something in the beginning of this discussion here, just a couple little things if I could.
Go ahead, Ms. Black.
As part of this exercise that we just went through for the logos here, so I want to share with the board members a little bit more about the process and how what the finished product here that you're going to see comes about. As Chris and Aaron mentioned, it started out with the whole group together talking about the things that make CVES and each of the 4 divisions really special. And from there, so we had a couple of those meetings where we really went into detail with all of the committee members about the things when they think about their groups and when they think about the organization as a whole, what do they think are the most stellar and outstanding things about that? Moving from there into sessions with the individual groups where they got to talk more about their divisions as they talked about those priorities and who they aspire to, who they are and who they aspire to be, so that these logos and this identity can move into the future with them. And you'll see as we go through this becomes a system where everything falls in under this umbrella that you're seeing here at CVES, but also provides for each of the individual divisions to have an identity that really personifies what their group does, as well as you'll see colors and other imagery, the little yellow ball that brings them all back to sort of the mothership as well. So they all relate together, they all tie in together. So after we came back with a bunch of ideas, then Board Benner did a great job of massaging those and bringing back things that really work together as a system. And then we fine-tuned those as a group and with each individual division. So the process was really, really amazing. Such fantastic contributions from all of the team members who were so generous in their and honest in their opinions and their impressions. And what you see here is the end result that really comes together. In my personal experience in branding, really makes a beautiful system going forward that can really serve you for a long time. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Don.
Well said. Thank you, Ms. Watt.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move forward, and we'd like to move forward with our next reveal. And again, Ms. Watt, as you can see, was a tremendous resource for us and helped being glue to bring us together, and just was amazing. So Ms. Watt, excellent and wonderful job. So we'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Friedman. You're going to share a brief encapsulation and.
Brief encapsulation, we are ridiculously over the moon in love with this. Honestly, we had quite a process because we in CV Tech already had an identity. And so it was difficult to maintain the identity, but still make it forward thinking. So what you see with CV Tech, we are more than just the name, but the name is our brand. So we wanted to kind of have some sort of visual that showed how when students come to us, they find their way. They find their way, their pathway may not be linear. It may take a couple turns, but it's always moving forward. We saw this after our conversation with Boyer Benner the second time around and talked about, it's not really what we do, a bunch of icons like a car or a tree or a Red Cross. It's who we serve. And so this logo, even though it's representative to most people as pathways, it's really wrapping our arms around our students and helping them move forward. So we are beyond excited. I literally have chills. I can't wait to put it on letterhead if we can. We are grateful to have been given the opportunity to share our story and our passion for career and tech ed and have Boyer Benner depict that in this logo.
Champlain Management Services, unfortunately, part of the process and very appreciative of where we ended up. I love all the logos and how they tie back together. But for management services, it was all about being the pillars of our organization and supporting and being that foundation to support every single division. That's been around all of our conversations. We bring in a lot of the colors from the other logos, even our logo, to show that connection to each and every one of them.
Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to stand in front of you today to share the recommendation for the new name of the Special Education Division. This change is a result of countless hours dedicated by our divisional team representing constituents across all campuses. The name change proposal is a result of deep research and exploration within our division, across the region, across New York State, and even across our nation, finding out names of service providers within the special education field. The reason for the change is simple. It's for our students, our families, and the communities that we serve. Some of which have experienced a negative connotation with the term special education. Those forces are outside of our control. But what is inside of our control that was expertly facilitated by the Boyer Benner Group is a narrative in our story. The narrative of success stories that are written in our halls each and every day. So I proudly present to you the Rise Center for Success. We want our new name to instill pride, recognition, and celebration for the school communities that we proudly serve.
Instructional Services Center is recognized for its excellent programming, but also for its individual location with everything under one roof. As our team discussed who we are and why we do what we do, we realize that we do much more than instructional services. And we are no longer an individual center, having joined our management services and district office colleagues in our new space. We support schools through services that focus on instruction, safety, technology, extracurriculars, and communication. Our future identity, represented by our name and logo, demonstrates the bridge we create between students, families, school personnel, and exemplary cultures, spaces, and instructions. We are School Support Services, SQ'd at CVES. Personally, I like to refer to us as SQ'd because it makes me think of Terry Gray, the distinguished leader of ISC for 16 years and her love of all things math.
Very good.
And now as we share, and I may ask Ms. Watton to join us again. You see here, and as you just heard an analogy, the summary about the different logos, you now see the family of logos. You see alignment and connection for colors. You see excitement, you see vibrancy. You see really passion. And as we look at our logos, it's a change from how we looked at our beautiful logo in the past to now say we're moving forward and we're moving forward together. So Ms. Watton, I would ask you to help summarize some of your thoughts as well, because you were a tremendous asset, including giving some advice occasionally to Boyer Benner or saying, hey, did you think about this? Or some other ideas. So Zana?
Well, I think the credit here really goes to the folks in the CVES divisions that really took the leaps to really express who they want to be and what they want to be. And you see it in these logos, in the descriptions that you heard from Matt and Amy and Michelle about why their division is called what it is and how it's personified here in these logos. And they all tie together as a family in color, in the yellow ball, and it provides a great way moving forward to use these logos in a variety of combinations when necessary and have it always fit together. Provides a new palette for us, and I think as a system it works really great. So, but the credit goes to the people who did the hard work.
I believe the yellow ball is doing all the work here. You know, it's really great. That seems to stand out. The yellow ball seems to be the thing, you know. And the other thing too, I want to say is I'm surprised and amazed at how quickly you've done this. Because, usually these things take a lot longer than this. You guys did it, got it done. That's great. Thank you.
So anything from, I know, Aaron and Chris are still on with us as well. I know, Chris, we can see you visually. Aaron, I believe is on as well. I want to give your team a tremendous amount of credit and acknowledgement for both of you, because your excitement and creative ideas really energized our committee to move forward on this exciting work. And I can share with you, there was tears and passion that was present in just about every meeting. And it was embraced by our consultants to be able to say, we believe in what you're doing and we're excited to help you on this journey. So Chris or Aaron, anything else you want to join? Share?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think everyone did a pretty good job of explaining each logo. We didn't get too deep into the weeds of the little details, but you could see we were, with Rise, it was, the wings of a phoenix, with CV Tech, it was the pathways. Management services was about all the different things, a lot of meaning in that logo, the M with the buildings and potentially just organization of things and spaces. And the bridge is support services. I think they all have their own little hidden meaning. And then we really believe that, and then everyone agreed that the CVES itself, we thought should be very simple, not necessarily a graphic. You do see the gold / yellow circle is kind of like a head and like a person's arms. You get that vibe from it, which is pretty inclusive. So I think you explained it well in the beginning. Like at one point, the mountains and the lakes, there was more of an artistic, like a drawing almost. It was at the time was probably perfect, but now in this current time, this we feel like is the right move. And like I said earlier, you were great to work with, and it was definitely a great back and forth. It's always fun to do project like this with a client that really engages and really is excited, and the passion, like you said, we've done this many years, but we got the applause. Like usually people they hold back, they don't show their emotions. So it was fun to see all the excitement in the room as we revealed things and the great tips and ideas that we passed back and forth. It was an excellent experience. Aaron, are you still there? I think we. Yes. You can hear the dinging as he's texting me. I mean, that's pretty much all I really have to offer.
Okay. If Aaron, if you are online or you're able to join, feel free to jump in. But I would share with you that at this point, that now with the committee and the support of our consultants and our board member, we are recommending to the board this as a package, as a family, as a unified package to move forward with as a brand of logos for CVES, and they're asking for your approval of it.
Yeah. Anybody have any opinions that you want to throw out here? Are we all looking at this like it's going to be good?
They look great. They did an amazing job, and so nice to see it. It's so vibrant and full of life. It really looks great.
It's new to us today, and I'm sure in a month from now, we're going to be looking at that going, it's great, not just good, it's great.
Yeah.
We get used to it and it starts showing up on our advertising and everything else. And our website, I'm sure it's going to be all over the website at some point. So perfect. Okay, well, thank you, everybody that's done involved with this. And that was a great project. Very timely fashion too.
I think Ms. Watton may want to.
Yeah.
Donna?
Yes. Anything else said, Donna?
No, I just think that everybody did a great job in making these really actionable and actionable logos that really depict what they do for a living.
Okay.
And thank you, Ms. Watton, for your work, because representing the board, you were actively engaged in embracing the process, but also providing support and sharing ideas at a tremendous level. So the board was very highly represented and well thought of by being part of the process.
My pleasure.
Dr. Davey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I will be remiss if I do not thank Ms. Watson for her help and throughout the process. There were some tears shed definitely, but I do want to make a big point to thank you, Ms. Watson. We got to chat real quick before a meeting, so I did some fact finding and found out about her background, and it's an incredible honor to work with you. I would be remiss if I did not. I got chills right now. I won't cry. But
Right back at you, Aaron.
thank you.
You guys were great. And I've since recommended you to a couple other people, so you might be getting some referrals for calling you.
Thank you.
Very good.
We like those.
All right.
So one final phase of the presentation, and that is that as part of this process, we will be coming back to you next month and working with Boyer Benner and our cabinet team, but also sharing updates with our committee, so that they're aware of the recommendations as they're coming forward as well, to rename our campuses. Because currently we have the Plattsburgh, Maine, we have the satellite campus, we've got the Mineville campus, and again, we want to have an alignment and a coordination of the naming. We have some recommendations that we started to develop, but really recognizing that we are a unified system. As Ms. Watton referenced, this is a system of logos. It's representing us in the greater, virtually social media, but it's also part of our brand as we're moving forward and the excitement that we want to bring. So we'll be bringing back campus naming recommendations for next month, as well as looking at and planning some ongoing work with Boyer Benner to continue to advise us. And then for our rollout and implementation, including updated website, social media coordination, all the letterhead, all of the updated brochures and handouts, so that really is a complete overhaul of all of our communication, and working closely with our own communication department, with Boyer Benner pointing us in the right direction. A lot of the work is now going to be done by our team. And it's going to come from this group of leaders and our team from the communications department being advised by the Boyer Benner group, and Ms. Vaughn, who can point us in the right direction too, and give us some really amazing suggestions and support along the way as well, representing the board. So that's our plan for moving forward. Are there any questions as we close out the presentation?
Good to go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And to Mr. Banner, Mr. Boyer, thank you again. And we appreciate you being on with us, and also being part of the conversation with us.
For the late nights and the Fridays and the weekends that you, especially Dr. Davey, I'm sure he's like, here comes Aaron again. We can't thank you all enough. I remember the weekend texts and calls. It was really an incredible experience. So thank you everyone for digging in and making this something that we're all very proud of. Thank you.
And great job, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Woo. Here's the meeting.
Okay, we can move on to the public hearing and the code of conduct.
It's that magical time again, where we convene our committee. Under regulation, we have to review the code of conduct every year, and then reveal to the public in a public hearing the changes for that code of conduct to be implemented for the upcoming school year. So this year, the committee members are listed here on this slide. And basically what we do is we make sure first and foremost, if there's been any updates from the state education department in which we are required to make adjustments, and then looking at recommendations from our leadership team and from the committee to see if there's revisions that need to go into the document. There were no required changes this year. So we went through the document. We start this process in February and move through the rest of the year. Basically, the major changes are the remuneration after the updates are done, and formatting corrections. We had to realign the bullets in the core beliefs. Every word is read and discussed and making sure that hopefully everything is in line. One of the changes is that we will hopefully have a new civil rights compliance officer appointed this evening, and with that board action, that will be inserted into this document. And then this is what we sent to our attorney for review prior to this recommendation this evening. In the section for essential partners in creating a positive school climate, we went through all of the bullets and quite honestly, they were a little antiquated and outdated. We wanted to, although it's a code of conduct and a framework for decorum, we wanted to keep it in positive expectation prose as opposed to what not to do. There are certain portions of this where you have to discuss prohibited conduct, but in these particular cases, we wanted to have more of a positive outlook on what is expected. So these components are recommended to be removed. I think you have this in advance, so I'm not sure if you have any questions. I just go through. And then in the teacher section, the bullets under here were listed in students' emotional, social, behavioral, and academic progress, and then repeated after in another section. So we made the recommendation to remove that because those expectations are still articulated in another place, which I'll show you in a moment. And number 10, where it said that teachers are expected to adhere and enforce. Basically, the enforcing part was now part of the teacher expectation, not a part of the administration. So adhere and,
Keep going.
okay, am I okay?
Yep, you're doing great.
Okay. I don't know what's next, though. I didn't have it memorized. So this is the section that I was mentioning before, where all teachers are expected to, you'll notice that bulleted list is exactly the same. But this time it's under, they're expected to communicate regularly with students, parents, and also to monitor academic progress through these, because these are the academic components. It just was grammatically not appropriate the way it was before. So we didn't remove any expectations, we just made it clearer. And then what we did was we had this section that was only listed in one of the essential partner lists. The committee believed that it should be repeated in every group and stakeholder groups outlined in that code of conduct. So you'll see that statement as a bullet in each of those subsections. And that was the extent of the work that we needed to do for that document. So this is a recommendation of the committee. It has been vetted by our attorney to move forward, and therefore, hopefully with your approval, we will be able to move this document and implement it for the 22-23 school year. Great job.
Okay, it looks like we're ready to move on with the consent agenda for remotion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, it's all the way to double A. Do you have any opinions or concerns from the audience? Anybody have anything to bring forward? Okay. You want to do your update now?
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you. And thank you to the board for working with us. To our virtual attendees, we were able to make that adjustment. A copy of the district superintendent's update handout was included in the addendums folder. It was, so I just want to touch base and say first, and foremost, how exciting, our graduations were. And really, it's a congratulations to all of our graduates. We had a tremendous graduation for our high school equivalency and GED. We had an amazing graduation in special education at the Giltz Auditorium at SUNY Plattsburgh. And we had a fantastic and just, amazing graduation of our CV Tech students. And it really was in both campuses.
Can I get me some water?
Oh, hang on, making a little adjustment with our. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bell. And thank you for all being patient. We got pretty good at this, and then we've now moved, we're doing the blend of the hybrid. So an acknowledgement and CV Tech of 353 CTE graduates, high school and post-secondary. Amazing, the largest graduation in the North Country, and representing all of our districts. It really was an amazing series of days. And for our high school equivalency, GED, we had 91 graduates. And I'll share with you, 17, 18 to 60s or 70s. Mrs. Friedman, is that?
We had a wide range of graduates and all very proud moments for them and their families.
Yes. And again, excitement and also opening doors to the future across the board. So we want to acknowledge and say with the board's support, we had an amazing class of 2022. And we're now moving forward and planning for the class of 2023 and 2024 as we're getting excited to blaze the new trails for our new students. Any other comments in terms of from our cabinet? Okay, so I'll move forward and say, I'd like to congratulate and thank our special ed division, Mr. Slattery. Our ESY program is now underway. We're excited about that on both campuses in the Plattsburgh main campus, as well as here in Mineville.
Isn't that the Center for Success?
It's the RISE Center for Success. And our CV Tech program is also preparing for the new school year. So we're excited about that. We do have some construction that's happening as well. There will be some photos that we'll be sharing for that. And also, you'll notice if you're watching the news, we are keeping a close eye about the infection rate, and I know vaccinations are out, but there's also some variants that seem to be on the rise. So we will continue to be working with the health departments, both Clinton County and Essex County health departments, to coordinate the reopening of the operation of school for the summer, but then also to coordinate the reopening for the fall. We do understand this has been ongoing. This will be our 4th school year that will be impacted by COVID. But again, we're prepared to take all the steps needed to work with our health officials to move forward and be safe as we return to school in the fall. So with that said, I'd like to acknowledge the 2022 Annual World Schools Association Summer Conference. I want to thank President St. Pierre and Mrs. Boyce and Mr. Harriman for our 3 board members representing CVES at the Rural Schools Conference. And we've had a tremendous conference, and we were very fortunate this year. Our planning committee for the summer conference was Rural Schools, the Best Kept Secret revealed. So really an exciting conference. Why Rural Works, Best Kept Secrets revealed. Our planning committee, Mrs. Campbell, Mr. Bell, Mrs. Friedman, and Mr. Slattery, as well as Josh Meyer, helped us plan and coordinate with the conference. And as we were all debriefing about it and having conversation, this is one of the strongest conferences that we believe we've ever been to. The caliber of speakers was equal to national conventions that we've been to.
I second that. I've been to lots of conferences. It's probably the nicest one I've ever been to. Most exciting one.
I piggyback that.
Yeah.
I think the speakers at this one were even much more engaging, informative, genuine. They really put forth an exceptional.
Yeah. For sure. encourage board members, maybe next year, more board members to, if you're interested, because now we've become more involved as an organization in that process. And I think that was part of why I personally feel that made a difference. Also, the fact that all these folks were here with us.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Harriman, anything, you've been coming to for a number of years as well?
I get more out of this one than I have out of state and the federal, the US nationals, because small schools, and those others are big schools. Their ideas don't work with us. But no, it's a beautiful area. I have a major history with that area. Been going to there since I was probably 8, 9 years old, camping and then on staff at a camp and then other things. So it is a beautiful area.
Yeah. And I was very honored, and I will pass around a copy of the program. I'll just let everyone take a quick look at it as you ponder about next year. And the second point, and the board should be aware from the transmittal, I was actually not recommended for the Rural Schools Educator, Rural Schools Educator of the Year for New York State. So, thank you. It's the William H. Deming Award, and each year one school leader, school employee is recommended on behalf of the Rural Schools Association, and this year, I was recognized, and what an honor it was to be recognized and to receive the award, given the caliber of the leaders and the impact that our leaders have had, and to have our board members and our team there, it was just an amazing experience, and I'm so pretty pleased and proud, but it couldn't happen without your support. So I want to thank you all, and I will pass this around as well. Just to say thank you and to our team. Looking forward to hopefully attending the conference in the future, because to have our team there and sitting side by side and hearing the Dr. Daggett and hearing these national speakers and the presentations, we came away with our batteries recharged, our cups filled, and saying, we have great ideas and let's move forward with a lot of these things. And to have our board members there together with us, the amount of excitement and energy that we walked away with, I think was very evident.
It was one of the presentations in which Mr. Bell was presenting. There was a superintendent in the back of the room at the end. How he can do what we're doing in our kitchens. And how can we help them get to that point? He's quite impressed with what we've already done. And the way we are continuing to want to know how we're doing this. And Aaron, you offered we might consult to help them out. I thought that was great.
And Mr. Meyer, Josh Meyer, and I, the superintendent of Boca Valley, presented on really a merger and considerations that districts should ponder as they're considering this. So I did have the opportunity to be active. We were active in helping plan and then participate in the conference, and it was just an amazing conference. And I will leave you with one little quick story. As we were meeting after lunch with our cabinet to really confirm our agenda and make sure we were good with everything with Mrs. Rabideau virtually. One of my superintendent colleagues came jogging up to me in the parking lot, right? I had just brought all my stuff down. I put it in the car and was going to go back inside. And he goes, Mark, I'm so glad I caught you. And I said, oh, good to see you. And good to see you here. And look forward to seeing you at our DS meeting in August. He goes, I want to tell you. He said, I've been coming to this conference for over a decade. He said, this was the best and most well-organized conference and sessions that I've ever attended. I wanted you to know that, and you could let your team know. And he said, and I've already told David Little and the other members of the executive committee my feeling. See you in a few weeks. And I'll be back. He actually made the point to come up and share that with me and for our team to say thank you. So with that being said, it was really an amazing conference, and thank you for allowing us to attend. A couple other items, and we have shared already some of the strategic plan updates that we're moving forward with our rebranding initiative. I will share with you that the board is aware that I conducted a listening tour at the last few weeks of the school year. We have met with between 96 and 98 individuals of our staff. We're going to now have 2 final sessions with our administrative team members in the next 2 days, the remaining this week. And then we'll be bringing forward some recommendations and summarizing it and letting the board understand the feedback that we've garnered and how we can use it to move forward. We'll also want to present updates on opening day and have it be part of our new strategic planning process to move forward. Lastly, we are aware that Mr. Sean Brady, who was our outstanding strategic planning consultant for all those years working with our plan, has retired. So we have been starting to talk with some consultants about coming to work with us and gathering someone who's going to be really the best fit. And we will be working with our cabinet to bring you members to bring you a recommendation for the August meeting. So with that said, excited about those things as well as our campus naming recommendations for next month. And the fourth item really is a welcome to our newest board member, Miss Emily Phillips. Thank you for joining us and being a member, a representative from the Wilkesboro district. I know you're an active board member in your own community. And we look forward to working with you in your new role. Okay. And with that being said, we also have an acknowledgement, Mr. St. Pierre as president. You have been working with myself. We've been sharing information with our cabinet as well to make our board meetings a little bit more efficient. Also to be cognizant of your time and in preparing and getting the information to the board in advance to help you be more efficient as a board member, but also help to have us run effective meetings and be cognizant of the valuable time that you all contribute. I'd like to just note as well that we do have one remaining open seat. We do have several districts that aren't represented at this point, as indicated on my superintendent's update. Oak Flat Valley, the Shady Rural Central School District, Mariah Central, and Putnam. So we do have a number of districts that are not represented, so we will be working with our superintendents. And also for our board members, if you know some individuals that you'd like to recommend, we will ask individuals to put that nomination in writing. Generally, we do ask the board for the component districts to nominate someone or to at least endorse them. And then that information could come forward to the board. And Mr. St. Pierre, as board president, you have the ability to make a recommendation to the board to fill that seat until the next district vote. When board members would be newly elected.
You're gonna have to up the pay, that's.
Triple. Yeah.
And lastly, just an acknowledgement that the next board meeting is Wednesday, the 17th of August. And it will be at our conference center in Plattsburgh.
Very good. And keeping with our plan to move along, let's move along.
Were there any questions at all? Okay.
Second, beat me to it.
Okay.
We got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda for the financial. Okay.
Oh, man, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. All business, do we need to vote on something?
Yes, we need members for the budget committee as well as the audit committee.
Oh, we need to get some members on board.
Mhm.
Guess that a little bit, maybe. Budget committee, do we need to?
Yeah, we have provided I think, Mrs. Boyes, Mrs. Saunders, and I think Mrs. Giro were the members for last year. There are 3 members, and then the audit committee, we'd like to appoint 5, but we need at least 3 according to the charter. Mr. Harriman, Mr. Murdoch. Oh, I really tried to.
Hang on, we have it. You have it for our.
Billy was on it, and he is done. I think Mrs. LaRock, yes. We only had 4 last year.
You're talking about the audit committee?
No. Yeah, the audit. Okay.
So right now we have 3.
So we still have 3 people on the budget committee.
If they're willing to put it. They don't have a choice. So I do.
Of course. You know, Mr. St. Pierre, of course. Only if you bring those tomatoes.
Where did they have tomatoes? Some of the hot pepper jelly.
That's what I want.
Oh, that's already on the list.
It's awesome.
I got some fresh peppers in the fridge. This weekend, we're making some hot stuff. There we go.
Perfect.
Anyway, anybody else that want to be on the budget committee or? We okay with just three?
For the budget,
Yeah,
3 is fine.
three is fine. Okay, then I guess we could, if everybody that's on,
Lisa, Boyd, Gloria Saunders, and Tricia Giro.
Make sure.
Yes, I'll be on it.
okay, perfect. Well, thank you. So the audit committee, you think we need one more person, you said? or-
You need at least 3 for audit.
And who's doing it now?
Right here, right there, right there.
You willing to stay on?
You're on, and then, oh, sorry, I said we're not, I apologize. I think it's Mr. McKay.
Mr. McCabe was on last year.
Okay, Ty, you willing to keep doing it?
Yes.
Awesome.
All right,
We got you 3.
we got three, all right, and if,
We just need to motion for each of them.
okay, well, motion to accept the budget committee recommendations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now the audit committee,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion to consent agenda. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, okay, now we have some individual ones here.
Yes.
Let's see, appoint some board reps to serve the Essex and Clinton school boards. I think I was doing the Essex one, but I'm willing to keep it back. Who's on the Clinton? Who was for the
Mr. Harris.
That's joint anyway, so.
Yeah, I know. So if everyone wants to leave the story. So, need a motion? Okay, a second. Second.
It's right here.
All right.
So you too.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Voting delegate alternate for NISBA convention. Was that you had last time?
No, he is the voter. He's not the alternate.
That's gonna be there.
You don't have to be, it's virtual.
That's gonna be virtual again.
I'll be going anyway, but if you want to do it, you can do it, or I can do it.
You can take the lead, though.
Okay.
As long as they can go virtual, no problem.
Oh, so you want to still do it?
I'll do it virtual.
All right, give it another motion. Okay, second by?
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. NISBA legislative meetings. Is that you?
So last year,
Mr. Harrison.
Mr. Harriman was.
Oh, okay. Is that another one that you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have some information on some of these things.
Honestly, I think it's just a matter of them having your email and they send you certain things, and if you feel it necessary to bring it to the
Okay.
And it will be,
Motion, second by?
Motion.
okay, so I'll just share that there will be a summary of all the resolutions that NISBA will put together, that we will receive in advance. You'll have it, but we can also share it with the board. And then you can actually give feedback that Mr. Harriman can then represent the board on your behalf.
Perfect. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried. Request for approval to attend conference workshop.
So I would just like to ask if there's anyone else at this time that wants to go to either of these events. It's a leadership conference with NISBA in Albany in August, or the NISBA convention in Syracuse in October. I just need to know now. We will start PO process and then also registering.
And Megan, these are both in person, correct?
Yeah, so-
Donna's
Which
interested.
one?
October.
October, she said.
Thank you.
Everybody else? Sure. Yeah, you have some already.
So
Yeah, I have them listed, so I can let you know. The leadership conference in August is Lisa Boyes, William Malott, Ed Meriden, Michael St. Pierre. And then the same for Lisa, William, Ed, Michael St. Pierre, and Donna Watt, and for NISBA in October.
Okay. What's the deadline to tell you? Tonight?
Technically tonight, I mean,
Speak up or forever stay home.
we get better pricing as well as I can secure,
No, I-
hopefully secure a hotel, because that's usually the first thing that sells.
Yeah.
Motion.
Especially.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, the rebranding logos resolution. To approve what we've seen so far. Motion.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Saunders. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Resolution to approve staffing updates.
Motion.
Second. Mr. Harriman, all those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Adopt the revised policy, which is in closure 70.
Motion.
Second.
Get a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Policies, no action. Okay, the policies that. Oh, so how about the one for the signatures? Is that the one we're doing tonight?
Yep, I gave
Yeah,
everyone.
everybody got that. Okay, so make sure you sign your thingies and turn them in for the read, please. Memorandum of agreement for second. Closure 73. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Another one, a memorandum of agreement.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. No new business, yeah. Okay, Ed's got something.
So there's an addendum on the advice and approval of the council recommend board approve resolution for the contract with district superintendent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There's
Carried.
there's a recommendation, district superintendent, board approved, ratify the budget agreement between CVES and the Department of Educational Services.
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
And the last one is to add the recommendation, the superintendent for the cooperative educational services to continue the district leave of registration.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And carried.
And the board approved cross contracts list.
Move the list.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Oh, the other side.
Yes.
Okay. Recommend the board approve the agreement for leaf closure.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried.
The last one is to appoint appointment for network assistance commission.
And a second.
Here, you have a motion in a second, honey. Well, give me a third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, Bruce, you need a motion.
Oh, second that motion.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you for making me laugh tonight. That was great. You moved quicker on your than any of us.
You should be president next year.
Thank you, everyone.
You got done this one.
Everybody.
Good night.